Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak, and this is Into the Weekend with BetDSI, the call we do every Thursday with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI, where we find out a little bit about the action he's taken for the upcoming slate of football games. Right now it's October 4th, so we're looking ahead to NFL Week 5 and college football Week 6. Brent, thanks so much for being here once again.
Good to be on, Peter.
All right, I need some sharp sides this weekend, man. I'm overwhelmed. I can't be on the side of the public anymore. I need to be on the side of the sharps and the books this freaking weekend. A lot of big games, a bunch of line moves. Let's start with one that caught my eye. We've been discussing here in the office, the Air Force Navy game. It's opened at 10, and then I actually did a preview of it with AccuScore, and he said he liked Air Force at 10. Then I saw it move down to 7.5. That had to have been a sharp move, right?
Yeah, we had sharp money on the plus 10 and plus 9.5 with Navy, but the money at minus 7.5 was, I'm not going to say it was sharp, but it's a big group that has a lot of money that kind of moved that number. There was people who bet at 7.5, and they followed, minus 8, minus 8.5, and then the sharps. Anytime it got around 9, they were taking Navy there. So we're sitting at 8 right now. We're probably going to end up sitting at 8 right now. We're decently balanced in terms of action, but definitely the sharps are more leaning towards Navy.
Wow. And was the public betting that game at all, or?
Well, what we call followers, yeah. I mean, there was like I said, there was a big bet on Air Force minus 7.5, and the line just shot up across the board when it did that. The people who followed to it all the way up to 9.5 again. Sharps came back at plus 9, plus 9.5, and of course some early guys got a plus 10.
And then another game that I'm assuming is going to be a big public side is Florida State at North Carolina State. That line has gotten bet up. It's at 16 now, and I'm assuming that got bet up because of public action, not sharp action, right?
Well, no, we actually had sharp action minus 14 and 14.5, Peter.
Really?
Plus, we've got the public money tailing at that now. So we're up to 16.5 on Florida State. Our money's probably 2 times in favor of Florida State. The count's about 3 times that way. And even at 16.5, I haven't got a sharp bet back on NC State yet. So I'm a little worried about that one.
Wow. So that's going to be a relatively big decision game for you then.
Yeah, I mean, right now you don't want to go to 17 because of the money you initially took at 14, but in this case, we just might have to. And so we're kind of nervous about that one with the public and the sharps on Florida State.
Yeah, we saw that a decent amount of times last year, actually, and those sides did tend to win. And then another side that moved up that I'm also guessing might be due to public action is Notre Dame. You know, they for a long time were a big public favorite, and the public got burned repeatedly on them. But now it's a different story. They're a top 10 team. Is the public falling in love with Notre Dame again?
Well, Notre Dame's a team that historically you just kind of want to like, and the public wants to get behind. We have had a little bit of money, minus 12, 13, all the way up to 14, and we're sitting at 14 right now. We've got a little bit back on Miami, Florida, a little bit of sharp money, but not big volume. Actually, the most volume we've had on that game has actually been on the over. We took some very big bets on the over 51 and 52. We're sitting at 54 on that game, and not a drop, even at 54, not a drop on the under.
And then there's another game that I was talking with some people about. They were kind of speculating it might probably should have been a little bit bigger. Mississippi State minus 10 at Kentucky. Have the sharps touched that game either way?
No, it's interesting. That game's got really not very much volume at all, and we're sitting at minus 10 on Mississippi State, and it's just not a whole lot at all. A little bit of money on Kentucky plus the 10.5, but nothing at all. It's kind of been a small volume game, surprisingly, Peter. That
is kind of surprising. I would have expected that the sharps might have a strong opinion on that and that the public might be attracted to Mississippi State, but I guess that's not the case, huh?
Well, I think it's a case, too, with this weekend. You've just got so many big-name games going on. We talked about Notre Dame, Miami, Florida, Nebraska, Ohio State, LSU, Florida. The Texas game is big. Georgia, South Carolina, of course. A lot of real big marquee games. And I guess that game in terms of Mississippi State, Kentucky just kind of fell through so far.
All right, so let's start talking about some of these huge marquee games. First one, Texas, minus 7 against West Virginia. You know, there's a great argument that can be made for both sides. And, of course, the first glance opinion on that game might be the over, in the 70s is a great bet. How's the action come in on that game?
The money and the count is in favor of West Virginia right now. So we've had more bets on West Virginia. We have more dollar volume on West Virginia. A lot of that was plus 7 and 7.5. Sharp money came in there. And interesting, when the line was down to 6, we did take Texas bets there. So it's one of those games where Right now, we're sitting at Texas minus 6.5. A little bit more money on Texas will probably be minus 7, dog 15, something like that. Because anytime we go to 7 flat, they're taking West Virginia. And anytime we're below 7, they're taking Texas. So that's a game that we're going to have a lot of dollar volume on. And as long as it doesn't fall 7, we should be okay.
And sometimes when you see games like this, it's like one of those games where you can't make the total high enough, and the public loves the over, the sharps do their math, and they love the over, and it winds up going way over. Has that been the case in this game? Are you getting one-sided action on the over?
We're getting more money on the over right now, but it's not overwhelming that we have to move the line too much, Peter. Not yet.
All right. And then what about, Georgia, South Carolina? Huge game. My guess would be enormous volume, split down the middle in terms of public action, and the sharps not touching it too much.
Yeah, the public's actually taken Georgia plus the 1.5. That's why we're down at South Carolina minus 1 right now. Now, when that line opened up, South Carolina was 2.5, and they took a sizable bet minus the 2.5, and then of course money started coming back on Georgia plus the 3. Actually, it was only one sharp bet laying the 2.5, another sharp taking the plus 3, and since then it's been all public money, just batting that line back and forth. We've got probably about 2-to-1 dollar volume on Georgia, and the count's the same.
All right. Okay. And then LSU, Florida. Any sharp opinions on that one?
Yeah, a lot of sharp money on LSU minus the 2. Squares like you and I think about, including you in the square group,
yeah,
Peter.
Sure.
LSU minus 1.5, minus 2, 2.5. I mean, what's the difference really? But as soon as that line goes to 2, sharps are all over LSU. When it goes to 2.5, they don't touch it.
Yeah, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, you bet the team's going to win.
3, 4, 5. There you go.
Unbelievable. All right, so the sharps are like an LSU. Well, yeah, we did a preview of that game, and I was kind of expecting the guy to say that he liked Florida here, that they were, shouldn't have been an underdog. They should have been a small favorite. But he said he liked LSU as well, so maybe LSU is a sharp side. Is the public touching that game at all?
At 2.5, we're pretty much split, and that's where we are right now. So right now, we do need Florida, but the only way we're going to get Florida money, I think, is going to 3, and we really don't want to do that at this point.
All right, then there were a couple of kind of sizable home underdogs. I was wondering if either of those sides attracted any sharp action that you saw. Mississippi getting 12 at Texas A&M, and then Indiana getting about 15 or 16 against Michigan State.
Mississippi, when the line went to 12, yeah, we got some support from Mississippi plus 13 there against Texas A&M. We're sitting at 12 right now. Mostly public money on A&M, and we do have the sharp money. The only sharp money we got was Mississippi plus 13.
All right, and then before we move on to NFL, my favorite part of the show, Brent, give us one or two sharp sides, totals are fine, that caught your eye this week that you noticed that the sharps really like and that are clearly going to be a sharp side this weekend.
Well, a game that probably not a whole lot of people other than sharps are looking at is Tulsa, Peter. Tulsa minus 3, took some really big bets, all sharp money on Tulsa there. We're sitting at Tulsa minus 4. They're at Marshall and not a drop back on Marshall. So Tulsa is definitely a sharp side. And we've also got sharp money on Army. They're a home dog. They're catching 9.5 right now at home to Boston College. When the line was 10, we got a whole lot of support for Army plus a 10, and we've had nothing but public money on the 9.5, laying it with Boston College. So that's where the sharps and public are kind of against each other. You want to be on the sharp side with Army on that one there. Nothing but public money on Missouri minus 6.5. They're at home to Vanderbilt.
All right, so moving on to the NFL, looking over the card, I saw there's a couple of games where I have to assume they're going to be enormous. Once again, huge public teaser games. That's Green Bay at Indianapolis, and even bigger, the Monday night game, Houston at the Jets.
Yeah, you could throw the Giants into that one too. Giants are an 8.5-point home favorite.
Right now, I would be guessing that the Bills and Browns have been getting a little bit of sharp attention. No.
The Browns money, we have got decent money, plus 9.5. The sharp money, the counts about 3-1 in favor of the Giants. So it's all public money pretty much on the Giants. And the only sharp money is when we get to 9 and 9.5 with Cleveland. Again, that's mostly, we're going to see a ton of teaser money on the Giants, though, Peter.
Right. And have the sharps been betting Buffalo against the Niners at all?
Yeah, we actually got a lot of sharp money on Buffalo. They took it, even buying it when it was at 10, buying it to 10.5 when the line was at 10.5. We got a couple of really sharps on Buffalo right there, plus 10.5. They've been buying, like I said, they bought the half point to get it to 10.5. And mostly it's just all public money at the 9.5 right now. We don't really want to go back to 10 because we figure we're only going to get sharp money there. But right now the public money is so overwhelming on San Francisco, we just may have to closer to kickoff.
Wow, so that's just pretty much a stark, sharp public split right there, Buffalo and the Niners.
Yeah, that's a case where if we sit at 9.5, we won't feel too bad about it. If the money gets out of hand, we might have to go to 10.
Okay, and but you haven't gotten that kind of action though on the Jets at home against Houston, have you?
No. And the Jets is just kind of a messy situation right now. They lost their wide receivers, Antonio Holmes. Their running game doesn't look like it's doing much. There's the Tebow talk and all that kind of stuff. It could be, people waiting around, seeing how high that line's going to go. Right now, we're Houston minus 8.5. The count's 5-1 in favor of Houston. A couple of big bets when the line was 7. They bought it down, or 7.5. They bought it down to 7. But not much sharp money involved in that game at all, Peter.
Wow, so that's going to be a big decision game for you then, because you're probably not going to get any public action or sharp action coming back on the other side, right?
No, I think we're going to have to go to 9 to get 80 back. And again, when you're sitting with needing a home dog on Monday Night Football, it's never a bad position for the book.
Okay, and then there's a couple other games that I wanted to ask you about, specifically in the NFL. Some people have given the opinion that the line in Titans-Vikings is suspiciously low, that it should be about 7 or even 7.5, and the fact that it's not, that it's in the 5.5 range, means that the books want to have the Titans and that the sharps might be betting it. Is that true?
A suspicious-looking line, you say, Peter.
Yeah.
Well, we do have the dollar volume is 2-1 in favor of Minnesota.
Right.
The count's 3-1 in favor of Minnesota.
Right.
So right now we do need the Titans, but the sharp money we do have has been on Tennessee plus 6. That's where all the sharp money came in when we were at 6 with Tennessee. So we're sitting at 5.5 right now, and people are laying the 5.5 with Minnesota. Anytime we touch 6, they take Tennessee. So that is definitely a sharp side, Peter.
Yep.
You're right
So
on that one.
I nailed it exactly right. It is a suspiciously low line, right? And then how about the Bears and the Jaguars? Some people have also said that one is that the Bears should be a bigger. I mean, that was a weird line because before their Monday night game, it was like around 3 or 3.5, and then after they rolled Dallas, it jumped all the way up to 6. So why did that line move like that?
Yeah, it's probably it's pretty much the exact same situation as the Minnesota game. We've had the sharps on Jacksonville taking the plus 6, and public's been laying anything below that.
And then finally, the Saints. The Saints are winless. They're 3.5-point home favorites. I might be thinking that the public might be trying to time a win here for the Saints and be betting them pretty heavily.
Well, they've been trying to time a win for a while now. Actually, on the show we talked about last week that we had the sharps betting New Orleans last week, and the public was on Green Bay, and that worked out well for them. Right now, we've got about 2-1 count and dollar volume in favor of New Orleans. We do have sharp money on San Diego, though. Anything San Diego plus 3, plus 10, plus 3.5. The sharps have been all over San Diego, and it's just public money driving New Orleans right now. And they seem like a tough team for me. They seem like a tough team to get behind.
Yeah, no, I agree. So there you go, another sharp public split, and it seems like there's more distinct sharp public splits in the NFL this week than most.
Yeah, it seems last week we had a few games. As we go on, we're getting more and more of them. Another one this week is Cincinnati Bengals. Actually, we've got sharp money on Miami again, a team that people probably just don't want to get behind, and we've got a lot of money on Cincinnati. The count in terms of wagers is about 4-1 in favor of Cincinnati, but the sharp money is all on Miami plus 3.5.
All right, and then before we let you go, is there any other notable sharp or public action that you've seen in the NFL that you think is interesting you'd like to share with us?
Well, another game that split that we talked about, like the previous games, is the Baltimore-Kansas City game. I don't know how people can get behind Kansas City, but at plus 5.5 and plus 6.5, they have been betting Kansas City. We're sitting at 6 right now just because the dollar volume has been so overwhelming in terms of bets on Baltimore. And again, you've got a team who's on the road laying a lot of points, and sharps are all over Kansas City. They look ugly, but they may get the cover anyway.
Wow, it's amazing. From the bookmaking perspective, it must be so obvious to you to read this money coming in. You see like just an avalanche of public money on one side, and then not a small amount, but a modest amount of accounts that are sharp coming in on the other side. So to you, it must be clear as day what the right side is in all these games.
A lot of times it is, yeah. I mean, we get a few games that just don't have a whole ton of volume, and then there's games like, this week, for example, where Philadelphia is at Pittsburgh. We've got sharps on both sides of that game and just a ton of volume. So that's a really good game for us because the sharps are loving Pittsburgh minus 3, minus 20, and they're loving Philadelphia plus 3, plus 10.